Here is a psychological fact you may not be ready for. Many nice guys are not truly kind. They are not always generous. They are not always honest. And they are not always loving in a grounded way. Many of them simply learn to manage approval in order to gain affection, closeness, safety, and a sense of control, all while appearing harmless. And if you recognize yourself in this hard psychological truth may be uncomfortable. Your niceness may not be a virtue at all. It may be fear wearing a polite face. Psychologists describe this pattern in different ways: nice guy syndrome, people-pleasing, covert contracts, repressed anger. But the core is the same. You learn to become easy to accept so that you will not be rejected. And once you understand that, you begin to see why you behave the way you do, why you avoid saying what you really want, why you stay silent, and then quietly resent people for not giving you what you never clearly asked for. Your relationships, your habits, even your confidence can all be shaped by one psychological pattern. If I stay good, agreeable, and useful, then I will be loved, included, and safe. But that pattern does not make you strong. It makes you dependent. The nice guy is often not a man who loves freely. He is a man who trades behavior. He does not say, "I want this." He says, "I will be good, and then you should naturally choose me, appreciate me, and give me what I need." This is where the hidden problem begins, because the openly controlling person is easier to read. You can see the pressure. You can see the agenda. But the nice guy moves differently. He helps, supports, listens, gives, waits, rescues, and tolerates more than he should. And beneath all of that is often a quiet expectation. After everything I have done, you should want me, value me, or choose me. And this is where it becomes more serious, because most of the time he does not even realize he is doing it. He believes he is simply a good person. He believes he loves more deeply than other men. He believes he is safer, softer, and more mature. But often he is simply cut off from his own honesty, anger, desire, and right to want something directly. So instead of entering relationships through truth, he enters through strategy. Here is the painful truth. Many nice guys are not kind. They are afraid that without their niceness, they will have no value. They do not give because they feel free to give. They give because they fear losing importance. They do not agree because they understand. They agree because they fear conflict. They are not silent because they are wise. They are silent because they fear rejection if they tell the truth. And that is exactly why this kind of niceness so often turns into passive resentment, emotional exhaustion, quiet punishment, and sudden emotional distance. Because buried truth never disappears. It simply collects pressure in the dark. Then it returns in indirect forms: cold silence, quiet guilt, self-sacrifice used as pressure, moral superiority, unspoken resentment, and the familiar inner sentence, "After everything I did, how could you treat me like this?" And other people can feel it, even when they cannot explain it. They can sense that behind your kindness, there is an invisible invoice. This usually begins very early. The nice guy does not come from strength. He comes from adaptation. At some point in childhood, you may have learned something powerful. It is risky to be inconvenient. Maybe affection had to be earned.
Maybe there was no room in the family for your anger. Maybe your needs were mocked. Maybe you were praised only when you were quiet, helpful, easy, polite, and undemanding. And your mind reached a brilliant but destructive conclusion. If I want connection, I have to cut off part of myself. Not the bad part, the living part, your anger, your directness, your desire, your healthy selfishness, your ambition, your right to say no, your right not to rescue.
Your right not to be easy for everyone else. This is how the persona is formed. Not maturity, not real character. A socially approved mask. And this is where Jung becomes essential. Carl Jung described the shadow as everything you push out of your conscious identity in order to remain acceptable. So if you build your identity around being safe, kind, agreeable, and harmless, then everything that does not fit that image gets pushed into the shadow. Anger, assertiveness, sexual energy, self-interest, competitiveness, jealousy, the wish for influence, the right to be difficult, the right to want something without apologizing. And here is what almost nobody wants to admit. Your nice guy may not be the opposite of your shadow. It may be the main mask your shadow hides behind. Because the tighter you grip the identity of, I am a good man, the more your denied darkness begins operating underneath your behavior. Then you do not feel your anger honestly. It leaks sideways, not as, I am angry, but as, it's fine, spoken with distance. Not as, I want you, but as endless emotional investment in someone with a hidden hope that closeness will be returned. Not as, I am hurt, but as the role of the suffering helper who silently wants others to feel guilty. This is the truth many people avoid looking at. Unintegrated niceness becomes a weapon. Let's name the pattern clearly. The nice guy often tries to control outcomes through hidden contracts. If I do everything right, then I should be chosen. Moral pressure. I am a good man. Why don't you appreciate that? Self-sacrifice as leverage. Look how much I put up with for you. Passive resentment. Not saying what he wants, then punishing people with coldness. Self-erasure performed as devotion. Exhausting himself to impress someone, then blaming them for not saving him. The line, I'm not like other men, often presented as virtue, but frequently used as branding. Conflict avoidance disguised as maturity, not because he is centered, but because he is afraid to lose approval. And that is how the whole system becomes unhealthy, because instead of a living man, there is a social mask constantly calculating how to remain acceptable. This eventually damages relationships. A partner, a friend, even co-workers begin to feel that something is off. You seem kind, you seem helpful, you seem gentle, but somehow it still feels tense around you. Why? Because real intimacy requires truth, and the nice guy often brings strategy instead of truth. You cannot build genuine closeness with someone who is afraid to say what he wants, afraid to say no, gives in order to receive, stores resentment, and performs a role instead of showing up as himself. Then the classic inner protest appears. I do everything right. Why am I still not loved the way I deserve? But reality is different. People do not feel grounded around covert need. They feel pressure, not strength, hunger.
And that hunger quietly weakens attraction, respect, and trust. But the deeper damage happens inside the man himself. This pattern splits the psyche. Outwardly, you look kind. Inside, you feel angry. Outwardly, you seem patient. Inside, you want control. Outwardly, you appear calm. Inside, you may be full of shame, envy, frustration, loneliness, and quiet resentment. If that hits a nerve, good. It means something real is still alive in you. Because the unintegrated nice guy often lives in a state of chronic anxiety, buried anger, weak identity, dependency on female approval, shame around desire, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as bad, and silent frustration toward the very people he tries to please. He does not really live. He manages impressions. And that is exhausting. Because when you play a role for long enough, you eventually stop knowing who you are without it. And this does not stay inside romance. It spills into work.
The nice guy often weakens his professional life too. He avoids hard conversations. He struggles to set boundaries. He undercharges. He overloads himself to stay liked. He says yes when he should say no. He does more than required and quietly hopes someone will reward him for it. Then he wonders why he was passed over, why someone more direct got the opportunity, why he is useful but not respected. Psychology is blunt on this. The world rarely rewards suppressed virtue. It often rewards clarity, boundaries, and the ability to withstand tension. And as long as you confuse pleasantness with strength, you will keep losing ground to people who at least know what they want. Now here is what few people want to admit. Many nice guys are not afraid of being bad. They are afraid of being fully seen. Because the moment you become direct, you risk disappointing people, upsetting people, losing approval, and no longer controlling connection through agreeableness. And that explains why life often remains stuck. You are not simply nice. You may be dependent on maintaining an image that cannot be criticized, but that image comes at a huge cost. It costs you masculine wholeness. Now let's address something many men misunderstand. People do not reject the nice guy because they somehow prefer chaos. That is too simple. They often step back because they can feel the indirect communication, the unspoken expectations, the hidden pressure, the fear of real power, and the absence of inner steadiness. Attraction does not grow from moral performance. It grows from wholeness. Wholeness means a man can want something and not be ashamed of it. Speak clearly. Tolerate hearing no. Stay intact when he is not chosen. Stop trying to buy love with behavior. Stop hiding his shadow behind politeness. Real maturity is not, I never feel anger. It is, I know my anger and I direct it well. It is not, I keep everyone happy. It is, I can be caring without betraying myself. And here is the hardest truth of all. Your nice guy may be the most refined form of self-betrayal in your life. You betray your truth so you will not be left. You betray your anger so you can appear safe. You betray your desire so you will not seem unacceptable. You betray your boundaries so you remain easy to keep around. You betray your deeper self for approval, applause, and the chance to be chosen. And that leads to an inner collapse. Not suddenly, slowly. You no longer feel like a man. You start feeling like a function. Useful, correct, pleasant, accommodating, but not alive.
That is why so many nice guys quietly feel empty, ashamed, weak, frustrated, jealous of more direct men, and disappointed that their strategy no longer works. Because deep down they know this was never love. It was a bargain. So what do you do? Do not begin by trying to become less nice. Begin by becoming more truthful. Here is a psychological practice that actually helps. First, watch for the hidden contract. Every time you do something for someone, ask yourself, am I doing this freely? Or am I secretly hoping to be rewarded? If you are hoping for a reward, admit it, calmly, without shame. Second, reclaim your right to want. Do not hint. Do not hide behind politeness. Name your desire directly. Third, build healthy aggression, not cruelty, not hostility, the capacity to tolerate tension, say no, draw a line, and stop smiling where you feel pain. Fourth, stop trying to purchase love through usefulness. Any relationship that requires self-betrayal in exchange for affection will always diminish you. Fifth, begin shadow work.
Write down, honestly, who are you angry with? What do you want? Where do you use kindness to influence people indirectly? Where are you performing? Where are you afraid of seeming difficult? What qualities in other men trigger you? That is where the shadow lives, and that is also where your strength is buried. Jung was not teaching people to erase darkness. He was teaching them to make it conscious. You do not become a mature man by destroying your shadow. You become mature when you know your anger. Stop fearing your own desire. Stop feeling ashamed of strength. Stop building love through subtle bargaining, and stop disguising control as kindness. Then your kindness becomes real for the first time, because now it is no longer fear, no longer strategy, no longer a mask. It becomes a free choice. And there is a massive difference between I am kind because otherwise I won't be loved, and I am kind even though I am capable of force because I choose not to misuse my power. That is strength. Most people stop here, and that is the mistake. They listen, nod, recognize themselves, and then return to the same role. Because the nice guy identity offers a seductive illusion of moral superiority, but it does not offer freedom. So remember this. Your problem is not that you are too kind. Your problem may be that you are not fully honest with yourself. You hide your shadow. You fear directness. You want love without risk, respect without tension, desire without rejection, strength without meeting your own darkness. That never works. Your maturity begins the moment you stop asking, "How do I stay good?" and start asking, "How do I become whole?" On this channel, we do not feed comfort. We break self-deception. We bring the shadow into the light. Subscribe to Can Still Go if you are ready to stop performing and start becoming real. And before you leave, ask yourself one question. Where is my kindness actually love, and where is it fear? Because the answer to that question can change everything.